When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
What is Cafe Mocha? Cafe Mocha is experts, celebrities.
What's up? This is Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yours truly, Idris Elba.
This is Fantasia.
This is In Vogue.
This is India Ari.
So much more. All from a woman's perspective.
What flavor are you, baby?
This is Cafe Mocha.
We got to talk a little politics this weekend. Valerie Jarrett, former senior advisor to President Obama, is here. Plus, journalist April D. Ryan celebrating a big anniversary as a White House correspondent. But first up, people are breaking up, making up, and trying to get their relationships right in the new year. Cafe Mocha begins now. I'm Angelique.
I'm Yo-Yo.
I'm Lonnie Love. Ladies, there was a surprise last year in December. Devon Franklin and Megan Good, after 9 years of marriage, Devon filed divorce. And,
that 9 years, I mean, they do it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Once you get to the 10th year, things get tricky when it comes to dividing up that money. So I am surprised and I'm disappointed that that they are getting divorced.
Well, they say that they're friends. It was funny because Megan came on our show before it was announced. And as a talk show host, I knew about the rumors. So I did ask a question about it. It was cut out because Megan asked me to cut it out. But she did answer in so many ways of, saying that she's looking at transitions. She's going to, take a beat for herself. She says that she's going to stop drinking. So, and they ended up putting out a joint statement. But then after that joint statement, Devon put out this IG picture with his eyes closed and he was crying. And, and the reception was basically like, oh, so you decided to take a picture of yourself crying. But I felt like he was just trying to express how he was feeling.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I didn't take like, oh, you trying to, be performative. Right. I thought he was really being sincere. And if you guys know that he's very religious, he's, I believe he's an Adventist. So on Saturdays, he observes the Sabbath.
Oh, really?
Yeah, takes it very seriously. I do know that they did not have children, but at one point they were looking at having a family because Megan had came on the show and said that. And, I think people tend to grow apart, but this was very surprising because, they've written books about how they waited before they got, to have sex, before they got married. And
what do you think happened?
Megan got her a new boo. She got her a new boo. Got me a new one this year that knows how to handle this here.
Really? Yo.
I wanted to lighten it up a little bit,
It's no way of lightening up a divorce that happened.
Because we never know what happens when people grow apart. The hardest thing is to place blame on the other person. What happens, even if it was relationship problems as far as infidelity or whatever. I think the fact that they are friends, the crying on Instagram was a little bit much for me. However, I understand it. I don't want a man filming himself crying.
Well,
Hollywood. Yeah. Hollywood relationships are hard, especially I feel like when both of you are in the business, they're always difficult.
To me, okay, if I'm honest, and this is just my personal opinion, I think they never really matched. And I'm going to say that, he's very religious. He's doing religious movies. I think that he had a certain lifestyle. And I think that Megan, it's hard, because especially in the Black community, we're very conservative when we come to our thinking about, okay, if this person is religious, then your partner shouldn't be wearing a sexy dress and shouldn't be,
almost immediately once they got married, There was we've known Megan Good since she was freaking 12, 13 years old in Eve's Bayou or however old she was. And we know how she is. And she's a hottie and she's dated guys and we love her. She's a super, just amazing actress from childhood. And I agree that it seems like a mismatch and people immediately started going after her when she was in her cute outfits being Megan Good as she always was. So I don't know. I imagine it was pressure. But then also, if he is as religious as you say, he probably doesn't appreciate her drinking so much, as you noted.
Well, she said she has stopped.
Yes.
So, but moving on to other relationships, Nene Leakes.
She dating.
Is now dating. She's back on the market.
Oh boy.
Now
and how messy. I mean, it's like, can't you people give something a break? She just lost her husband. She's trying to find her way back in life. And it just people immediately already starting problems for her.
Well, first of all, people want to, tell people what they need to do in their life. Nene is a grown woman.
Yeah, okay? let her have a body to lay on.
Exactly. And there was a little young man that, I guess tried to do the come up on her, Yo-Yo. I guess they, was probably spending a little time together and he gonna take pictures. And
what?
He took a picture.
Didn't see that?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. No, put it up on Cafe Mocha. Put it up on the website. Let me see.
Be no more dates for you, baby. If you can't be discreet, we cannot do anything. Nothing.
But now she's dating a clothes maker. And they look happy together. And they spent New Year's together. They also vacationed together. And, I just don't understand why people, as you get older, you don't have a lot of time. You don't have 6 months and 8 months.
2 years. We gonna date for a year and then no.
Yeah, you don't have that. So it's like if you find that person that you connect with, and believe me, knowing Greg Leakes, Greg wouldn't want her to be by herself. He would want her to be happy. And, they knew that. So,
and what people don't understand is that when someone has had a long marriage and a long partnership, when they lose the partner, they want to get back out there immediately because they're used to that. Yeah. They're used to having someone, there. So let her do her thing.
And the one thing I've learned about, social media and people's input into your life, it can be troublesome. I know. And, the internet, you post on it, so you open yourself up to it. But I think the fact that you do what you want to do is better for you. And I'm happy for Nene. And he looks like he's loving on her. And she looks happy, and that's all you want for her is happiness.
Angelique along with Lonnie Loving, Yo-Yo. We're talking politics this weekend. President Obama's former senior advisor, Valerie Jarrett, is here along with April D. Ryan, White House correspondent. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
More Lonnie. It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. Angelique, Lonnie, Love, Yo-Yo on the line. She's the former senior advisor to President Barack Obama and currently the board chair of Civic Nation. We've got Valerie Jarrett on the line. Welcome back to Cafe Mocha.
It is a pleasure to be here with you. Happy New Year. I hope everyone and you all in your listening audience are doing everything they can to stay safe and healthy.
The reason why we honored you is because you are always doing the work for the culture and to make our country a better country. So what's the latest? What should we be worried about? What should we be working on?
Well, first of all, thank you for that compliment. It's my honor to do it. And I think what we learned at the anniversary of January 6th, the first anniversary of the attempted insurrection to overthrow a duly authorized election in our country, the lesson is we can't take our democracy for granted. We have to roll up our sleeves and we have to get involved. And that's why Mrs. Obama launched When We All Vote, which is a part of Civic Nation back in 2018. And we realized that everyone has to get involved and make sure that they register to vote. And what we want to do is train 100,000 volunteers to register people this year. We want to register over 1 million new voters. We want to organize folks to talk to their senators about the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, because what's clear is you look around our country state by state, particularly in the South, but not just in the South, laws are being proposed and passed to make it harder to vote. And so we need some federal standards to say, if you're one of those states that has a history of passing discriminatory practices, you got to get approval before you can change your law. And also, we should be expanding early vote, having vote by mail, letting people vote during off hours, because not everybody works 9 to 5. Not everybody can take off in the middle of the week on a Tuesday to go vote. And so we need some federal guidelines that make it easier for people to vote. And that's really what's top of mind right now. I'm worried about our democracy. I'm worried that people are thinking, oh gosh, government, it's just dysfunctional and why should I get involved? Because it's your government. That's why you got to get involved. You got to care about it. And if you don't like the people who are representing you up and down the ballot, well, then find a candidate you do like and vote the other people out of office. We shouldn't feel disempowered. We should feel empowered.
But it is dysfunctional. I mean, they can't even agree that January 6th was a bad thing. How do you not agree that that was an embarrassment and scary for democracy? I mean, if you can't agree on something as simple as that, how do we get to health insurance? How do we get to voting rights?
You hit the nail on the head. And the problem that we have right now is that people are just getting information from all kinds of places that are not legitimate. And, the recent polling shows so many people in the Republican Party don't think that the election was legitimate, but yet the people who are responsible for the elections from both parties, as well as at the federal government who oversee elections, all said it was a perfectly legal election. The former vice president, Pence, signed what he was supposed to do when the insurrection ended to say, yes, one of the strengths of our democracies, you all, has always been open and fair elections, and the world is watching us, and they are wondering what has happened to the United States of America. If we had seen the footage that we just watched again at the anniversary of January 6th, of people storming the Capitol, being violent with police who are there to serve and protect, going in and ransacking offices, what about that looks like a peaceful tour? And so we should not get bamboozled by nonsense. And so I think part of the reason I wanted to come on your podcast is because you are trusted messengers. Your audience listens to you. They know that you're going to tell them the truth. And this is what we all have to be doing. And so Mrs. Obama had a whole group of civil rights organizations sign a letter saying, this is important. We need to get Congress to act now on both the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. And that's just the first step. The other is registering yourself to vote and showing up and caring about our country and the democracy.
It's Cafe Mocha on the line. Valerie Jarrett. She is the board chair for Civic Nation. We're discussing Fight for Our Vote.
I wanted to say, in a lot of areas, they are changing the polls. A lot of people don't know where to go to vote. A lot of the seniors are feeling like, they're moving it so far out that they can't even get to it. How can we help that situation? What are we doing?
Well, this is such a good question. So first of all, let's take a step back and say this is nothing new. When I listen to my parents tell stories about what it was like before the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed, with everything from poll taxes to asking people to count the number of jelly beans in a jar, all of the literacy tests, everything that our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents had to go through. So this is not new. But what we have to do is we have to organize, we have to protest, and we have to knock down these barriers. They're keeping open and accessible voting from happening. And so we have to use our voices and we have to use our vote to say stop it now. And we have to put a spotlight. So, for example, I want everyone in your audience to know, in Georgia, it is a crime to take food or drink to somebody standing in line to vote. Now, my mom is 93 years old. She will go and stand in whatever line. She has never missed an election in her life. But I'm going to take her some water and something to drink while she's standing in line. And that's a crime if I do that. And we have to call nonsense on all of these horrendous laws that are designed to suppress the vote, push our members of Congress to act, because they can stop it. The federal government can preempt everything happening at the state level and say, no, you can't do those things. And they need some adult supervision at the state level. And we need to call on our elected officials to act like adults.
You know, Ms. Jarrett, you've been in politics for a long time, and you know how our people are. Mm-hmm. What do we say to them that will resonate? But like, I feel like I'm seeing a lot of, and this is a lot of things online, like, we voted in Biden and Harris and they're not doing anything. And so I don't need to vote. We told y'all made a mistake. Right. What do we say to
First of all, they have done a lot. How many people have had vaccines once, twice, and a booster? How many people are out there employed today who had lost their jobs in the first year of the pandemic? How many small businesses received loans and grants from the federal government? How many people received unemployment checks in the mail that allowed them to carry their families forward? How many moms and dads had the child tax credit, which inured to their benefit? So part of what we have to do is be educated about what the federal government is doing for us and then talk about it. And that doesn't mean that it addresses every single issue. I know there are a lot of people out there struggling right now. But imagine where it would have been had we not had a president and a Congress who had taken these steps. And so I think part of why I come at this from a nonpartisan perspective is because the issues we're talking about should be important to everybody. We want people who are unemployed to have the ability to care for their families until they land on their feet. We want everybody to have access to affordable health care. We want people who are sick to not be stuck not having treatment because they can't afford these monoclonal antibodies that everybody who's wealthy is able to access. And so I think part of the challenge here is people are frustrated and they're tired and they don't feel like government is functioning for them. And we need to say to them, well, then get involved and show up at a community meeting, write your congressman, get organized, register people to vote, and recognize the other thing I would say is, look, a lot of the challenges we have cannot be solved overnight. These are long-term systemic issues that we have in our nation. And so you can't grow impatient too quickly, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't put pressure on your elected officials as well. I know it's hard, but these are messages that we have to deliver, because if we don't deliver them, we run the risk of losing our democracy. I mean, what happens if next time around you have people who are overseeing elections in all these states that are totally partisan as opposed to professionals, and they start trying to do what was attempted to do on January 6th, which is to throw out an election? Definitely. Well, then we're not a democracy anymore, you all. We're not a democracy. And we're not a beacon of hope to people all over the world who have looked to the United States to set the standard for how democracies behave. So my message is we don't have the luxury of sitting idly by and doing nothing. And there's something everyone can do, beginning with registering to vote yourself.
And right? I want to say that I was so proud this past Sunday, Michelle Obama, and When We All Vote, released an ad in the New York Times highlighting a letter. It was Mrs. Obama and over 30 organizations, including Vote.org and the NAACP, pledging to collectively fight to ensure that Congress acts on the voting legislation this year. This is what we're talking about when people want to say, you all, Ms. Jarrett, Mrs. Obama, y'all could have walked away. You could have walked away. You didn't. So why do you stay in this fight, even though you could have walked away, because y'all did a lot for us already?
Thank you for saying that. But you know what? I find it to be a noble cause, and I care about the country, and I care about my grandson, and my daughter, and my mom. I care about the people in my community. I care about Black people in this country who I think for all too often get the short end of the stick. And yes, when President Obama was in office, we did everything we could for 8 years, but a lot of these challenges require sustained effort over time. And I don't want to give up, because I want this country to be better for my grandson than it has been for me, just as it has been better for me than it was for my parents, and my parents better than my grandparents. And the only way we move forward is if we don't give up. It's a luxury to give up. We can't afford to, because we have the most to lose. So how can we give up? Who's going to look after us if we don't take care of ourselves?
Well, like you said, it's for the grandkids. It's for our grandkids. Right now, we could subside and we can get through. We can make it. We found a way. But what about the grandbabies?
What about the next generation? And the reason why we have what we have is because we stand on the shoulders of people who fought very hard for us. You know, you think about John Lewis and walking across that Edmund Pettus Bridge and fighting for voting rights. They made real sacrifices in order for us to have the right to vote. And the attempts now are to roll back the benefits that we had with that Voting Rights Act. And so we have to say, not on our watch.
It's Cafe Mocha. On the line, Valerie Jarrett, former senior advisor to President Obama and board chair of Civic Nation. We're talking about voting rights and all kinds of rights. In a lot of ways, I feel like it was a good year for social justice because, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows by now, Ahmaud Arbery's killers won't be getting out of prison. George Floyd's killer is locked up for a really long time. Mm-hmm. What do you feel? First of all, are these just flukes, Ms. Jarrett, because these were high profile cases? Or do you feel like next time one of these happens and a police officer is in front of a jury that they're going to, bring down the hammer and say, you got to be more responsible?
Well, look, I think here's the good news, which is that there has been an awakening in our country. We saw with the demonstrations last summer after the murder of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, too many Black men and women to count, but who should be honored. And people of all ages, all backgrounds, all races in all 50 states demonstrated and said, Black Lives Matter. That was a sea change in our country. And it was a wake-up call that rippled across our country. Now the question is going to be, what steps are taken at the local level to continue that pressure? You can't just have demonstrations and then go home and say it's solved. You have to continue to put the spotlight on these instances, and you have to start looking at best practices for how we improve the bond of trust between police and the Black community. And everyone will be safer if we do that. And these cases, I say it's holding them accountable, but justice would be if it hadn't happened in the first place. And so what are the systems that we're putting in place that keep people from being afraid by a Black person who's just trying to mind their own business? And that takes screening at the front end. So you get people in law enforcement who come from the community, who know the people in the neighborhood. It takes training. It's scary being a police officer. You need to be trained over and over and over again to de-escalate, not escalate. Otherwise, your normal human emotions take hold. And what's supposed to make them different is they control those emotions, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that needs to happen. Last summer, President Obama called on our nation's mayors to look at the use of force in their communities and do it in concert with the community. Over 300 mayors put up their hand and said, yes, we'll do it. And we showcased last year some of the best practices for how to reduce the use of force and keep people safer. And we should be sharing those best practices all over the country. And that's what law enforcement should do. That's what mayors across the country should do. The Justice Department now is looking at these patterns and practice of discriminatory behavior. They didn't do that for the 4 years President Trump was in office. We did it when President Obama was in office. We need to start looking at those patterns and practice again and holding law enforcement accountable because one murder is too many.
Yeah.
Those families never recover.
Yeah.
And people forget that there's a human being behind every single statistic, and a family, a mom, a dad, a daughter, a son. I'll never forget George Floyd's daughter saying, my daddy changed the world. Well, let's make that true.
We're talking to former senior advisor to President Obama, Valerie Jarrett. Go to whenweallvote.org and click on Take Action. This is Cafe Mocha.
More Lonnie. Yo-yo.
Hey, this is Claude Kelly from We Sound Crazy with your Black Music Month Spotlight. Victoria Monet is an American singer and songwriter. As an artist, Monet released a second installment of her Jaguar trilogy, titled Jaguar 2. The album won Best R&B Album and Best Engineered Album, Non-Classical, at the 66th Grammy Awards, and featured hit singles such as Smoke,
So I know I want the generation where that music was their prime to appreciate it. But also my generation to find some of the lyrics fun and use them as captions. So I want to have that juxtaposition.
Party Girls, and the RAA certified platinum track, On My Mama.
Hey, it's Angelique here. Walt Disney World Resort is bringing you the culture with music, art, and food. Imagine savoring Princess and the Frog's decadent bread pudding and berry beignets at Disney's Port Orleans Resort. Take in Disney's Animal Kingdom Park's Circle of Life Festival, celebrating the Lion King and more. Walt Disney World Resort is a place where you can come and celebrate with your family, and you can do it soulfully. Bring yourself to Walt Disney World Resort and celebrate the culture.
It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. I'm Angelique. On the line, she's celebrating 25 years as a White House reporter. April D. Ryan, White House correspondent for the Griot and a political analyst with CNN. Happy New Year, April. How are you?
Happy New Year, Angelique. I'm great. 25 years. I'm a little unicorn, I guess.
You are. Are you like the longest running White House?
One of the deans in the press corps, 25 years, yes. There's some other people, but for me as a Black woman, I'm the longest serving Black woman in that press room.
I would like to know where the other Black people are, April. Where are they?
Other companies.
25. No. I'm not putting the responsibility on you or any of your current but I just want to know where the Black people are.
But there is an onus on these companies to reflect the questions that look like all of America. Where are the Black people? Ask the companies that hire and put them in the White House.
Okay. I want to come back to that, but I want to begin this discussion with Joe Biden, our president. Even the people that voted for him are rolling their eyes. They're mad. And I want to know, is this
poked out?
I know. I got those middle of the road quasi Republican friends looking at me going, you voted for him. But I want to know how much of this is frustration and anger about the pandemic, and how much of this is really Joe Biden's performance?
It's all of the above. People are COVID weary. We're tired. We're tired of running in the house, running from Omicron. I got on tennis shoes, running from COVID. I've been running like so many people for 2 years. I'm not of that mind that, get it over with and get it. No.
You in the house?
Well, I'm not in the house anymore, but I go to work and then I go home and I'm in the house and I'm binge watching every show on streaming services. So, I'm like everyone else. But here's the thing. People are weary of COVID and they're tired. And people are expecting, this will be done. But here's the next problem. 1 minute you wear a mask, 1 minute you do this, and the other minute, it's 5 days instead of 10 that you quarantine. For some people, it's almost like you throw a wet noodle up against the wall and see if it sticks.
Right.
People are tired. People have died. People are scared of this thing. You tell us to be really scared, and then this thing is like a mild cold for those who are vaccinated. And then you still have a contingent of Americans that's not vaccinated that's helping to spread these variants. And then when it comes to promises by Joe Biden, people are holding his feet to the fire because he was voted in because, one, people are tired of Trump.
Yeah.
The election was more about Trump, we don't want you anymore. But we decided on you, Joe, so we're going to hold you to your promises. People are desperate for change.
Yeah.
And when they're desperate, they will take you and say, you made this promise. Where is it? He made a lot of promises on issues of equity in the Black community. And two of the biggest things right now that were promised and were hoped for, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which Tim Scott and Mitch McConnell kiboshed. And then you have voting rights. This one is done for right now. And if Republicans gain the Senate and the House like we expect, done for a while. We are now voting without the full protections. Anytime any state wants to make a change in voting laws, they can do it without asking the Justice Department. That's what the large portion of the 1965 Voting Rights Act was about. You got 18 states, Texas and Georgia and other states, that are repping this voter suppression thing to the hilt. So did he lean in too late? Yes. Were they trying to be strategic and not bring it up during the time of infrastructure so they could get it through? Yes. But there had to be a happy medium somewhere. And there are so many people like you said, Angelique, that are rolling their eyes. I see them rolling their eyes, parsing their lips and like pushing them out, looking like they got the cases of rocks in their jaws because they're mad. People are upset.
The other part to me is that, you know, for everyday voters who don't get into all the details and whatever, all we know, all we see is you can't get anything done. You can't get anything done. And then there's a sense that, and I don't want to say you, because Joe Biden is having this problem right now, but potentially whoever comes in next, Democrat or Republican, will have this problem as well, where neither one of them can agree on anything to get anything passed. And it's like, what are we doing here? We're just deadlocked stalemate.
And Angelique, for 25 years, I've been at the White House. 25 years, not 25 minutes, 25 hours, or 25 days, 25 years. With that said, I remember, Bill Clinton working to have unity across across the aisle with both sides, both parties. George W. Bush talked about unity. And then Barack Obama, because of the very fact that he was a black man, you had Mitch McConnell talking about he's going to make him a one-term president. And then shock jock Rush Limbaugh talking about he hopes he fails. With that said, then you have Donald Trump, who shut down any Democratic idea, anything from Barack Obama, and it has progressively gotten worse. January 6th showed us, Republicans think that the terrorists, the domestic terrorists, the insurrectionists, the seditionists, they thought that they were skipping across the park, the ellipse, and just jovially and lovingly going into the Capitol for a spot of tea and a picnic, holding hands and kissing. That ain't what I heard nor what I saw. They defecated on the walls, peed, and anything and everything. They desecrated John Lewis's memorial, former Congressman John Lewis's memorial. They acted like
animals,
people,
idiots.
Worse than animals, not worse than idiots. It was deadly. They went there to get Nancy Pelosi, to get Mike Pence. They erected a noose. It wasn't a joke. They were ready to swing Mike Pence's neck from that gallows on the mall.
But April.
And the Republicans want to act like it didn't happen that way.
I'm with you.
I saw it. Every death threat they gave to Maxine Waters, myself, Ayanna Pressley, Al Green, anybody was enacted that day.
April, I talked to people, Black folks out there working hard. And they're like, I'm tired of talking about that. I want what I want. I want to see action. I want to see something happen. And there is the feeling.
Ain't happen until we deal with this and get these people out. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's my question. How do we get to a point where we have people in there that want to work together and move things forward?
Angelique, we got people running for office who were in there tearing down the Capitol on January 6th. That boggles my mind. We put 5 carts in front of a half a horse.
I feel like this is code for we have a long way to go / it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yep. That wasn't code. That was straight up. The no chaser. And I don't drink.
Talking to White House correspondent April D. Ryan, this is Cafe Mocha.
Loving our brothers, men with strength, wisdom, assertive, and genuine in their spirit. It's the Cafe Mocha Swag Awards, hosted by Rashawn McDonald.
It's Rashawn McDonald from Money Making Conversations Masterclass. I recently sat down with Cafe Mocha Swag Award winner, Coach Deion Sanders, the Eddie Robinson Award-winning 2021 FCS Coach of the Year. He's had tremendous success with the Jackson State University football program. Coach Sanders shares some keys that will help you win.
I have a text list of a couple hundred people that they've been getting my texts for over 20 years. Now I'm off on weekends, but Monday through Friday they get it. Like for instance, this morning it said, get yourself together and do what you know you need to do and be what you desire to be. Trim the fat off your life right now. It's holding you back, and you know it. Just a simple, that's the first thing that hit my spirit when I woke up this morning, and I put it out.
If you want to listen to this full interview with Coach Deion Sanders, it's available on moneymakingconversations.com. Keep winning.
Cafe Mocha, April D. Ryan is our guest. She's celebrating 25 years as a White House correspondent. I do want to go back to your time during the Trump administration. And you mentioned earlier, death threats and things like that. For those who don't turn on and watch these press pools and these press conferences, April D. Ryan is a Black woman who was always challenging Trump, always asking him questions and having him. Let's play a clip and then you'll remember.
So we're going to do a lot of work on the inner cities. I have great people lined up to help with the inner cities.
Well, when you say the inner cities, are you going to include the CBC, Mr. President, in your conversations with your urban agenda, your inner city agenda, as well as?
Am I going to include?
Are you going to include the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional?
Well,
Hispanic
I would.
Caucus,
I tell you what. Do you want to set up the meeting? Do you want to set up the meeting?
No.
Are they friends of yours?
Just a reporter.
No, set up the meeting.
I know some of them, but I'm sure.
Let's go set up a meeting. I would love to meet with the Black Caucus. I think it's great. The Congressional Black Caucus. I think it's great.
I'm from the old school where we just report. I'm not supposed to be the news.
You wrote a book about those years. How did your life change after going toe to toe with Trump like that? And are you still sort of recovering and dealing with that?
I am still recovering. I am still very much dealing with that. You cannot have the leader of the free world, someone in that high office, and who changes the mindset of people on a drop of a dime, on a whim, and think you're okay. There's residue, but still I stand, and I'll stand if he tries to come back again. I never even imagined. I wasn't even looking at 25 years. But when I got to yesterday, I said, if I would have given up after my mother and father worked hard, put their pennies together and quarters and all that little money together to get me to college, and gave up because Donald Trump didn't want to deal with what I was asking legitimate questions for, shame on me. Shame on me. And look at it now. I'm one of the deans of the White House Press Corps.
Hey, Dean.
So, and asking questions of a community that's underserved.
Thank you, April. Congratulations on your 25th year.
Angelique, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you again soon and check in on any of the number of things impacting our community.
I appreciate you, Angelique. Be well, my sister. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye. If you want the inside details of April's dealings with Trump, check out her book, Under Fire, reporting from the front lines of the Trump White House.
Here's your dose of espresso. Strong, hot news now.
This is the Espresso. Our hearts and prayers go out to Regina King on the loss of her son Ian to suicide. Sports anchor Mike Hill offered this advice for all of us.
Check on your strongest friends, because sometimes your strongest friends are the ones that need the most help. I was one of those guys that always put on this strong facade, always happy, always trying to make everybody else happy. Meanwhile, I'm suffering in silence.
And here's a fact that most people don't realize.
78% of all people who die by suicide are actually men.
And yes, that applies to Black people too.
We've seen an increase in suicide in the Black community. And what the data shows is that Black men specifically are 3 to 4 times more likely than Black women to actually engage in suicide. Men oftentimes, and specifically Black men, are less likely to seek mental health services. And so there is a strong reliance on doing things yourself. We have concerns around sort of emotional vulnerability, and that oftentimes prevents men from seeking the help that they need.
If you just need someone to talk to, call 800-273-TALK, 800-273-TALK, or suicidepreventionlifeline.org. That's the espresso.
We're at Cafe Mocha.
Cafe Mocha, Angelique, along with Lonnie Love and Yo-Yo. We were talking about relationships.
I think a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the year, they reevaluate their lives and they say what they want, and I've noticed that a lot, especially a lot of celebrities are saying that they want to really find true love, Yeah,
well, I'm opening it up for love to find me this year. I've been divorced since 2016, and I've been working on myself and my family and my grandson and my career, and, didn't make time for dating or, pushed it off to the side as secondary. But now I'm going to let love find me this year.
What type of man do you like, Yo-Yo?
A funny man, tall, hopefully, thick and chocolate. And
how thick and how chocolate?
Give me 220. Oof. Oh.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I'm open for love. So I'm open to dating. I know what I'm looking for. I need a funny man. I need a praying man. I definitely need a hardworking man and a family, someone who loves his family.
Does hardworking mean he got to make money or?
Oh, yes. I cannot love a guy who doesn't have a hustle. Doesn't matter what it is, but I need a guy that can change some things and fix some things. I need a traveling man. I don't need a homebody.
Mm-hmm. Because you are always gone, so you can't.
Right.
You better have your passport. You better have some.
That's right. You better have your booster shot. You better have your booster shot.
Oh, I heard that. And a passport. Booster and a passport.
And a passport. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, what about that though? What if you meet a guy and he's like anti-vax and he won't get the vaccination?
I'm not even entertaining from the beginning. I think, that's why I said, opening up to create relationships. Before, I just wasn't entertaining any of it. I'm going to go through the fun dating process of meeting people and, getting to know them. But off the back, I can kind of tell in the first couple of conversations what type of person a person is. And yeah, I'm not playing any games though.
Leo.
Yeah, girl, listen, are we going to the Paris or what? There's right.
On our third date, I think we should go to the Eiffel Tower.
Right. We're not rationalizing these levels this year. We're going all the way there. Early.
Okay. Well, she is opening up to love. What other resolutions do we have for the year?
I'm running a marathon.
Are you?
I know. Girl, please, this hip. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But yes, I'm running a marathon April the 2nd in
what marathon?
Irvington, Texas, 26.1. So every day. I know. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's a challenge for me. I'm not really a big runner, and it's a challenge. It's just something I want to do. It's off my bucket list. I kissed 25 this year. So it's, that part. And I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So it's something off my bucket list. But the challenge is I consistently get up and run. So I think my body is adjusting to it. And even if I had to walk it just to push myself, I think it's more of a spiritual journey for myself because, you get to a point where no one can really tell you anything. You're like your own boss in a way. So this run is really me pushing myself.
Okay. To do something different, to do something new, a new challenge for the year.
Yeah.
I like it.
Wow.
All right.
Well, good luck.
Until next time, you can subscribe to the podcast by going to Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Type in Cafe Mocha Radio, click subscribe, or you can find us at mochapodcastnetwork.com and on social media on all platforms at Cafe Mocha Radio. Cafe Mocha is a production of Miles Ahead Broadcasting in partnership with Compass Media. Executive producer Sheila Eldridge. For comments, booking, or more information, visit cafemocharadio.com.
Hi, this is Chuck Harmony from We Sound Crazy with your Black Music Month Spotlight. Missy Elliott is a pioneering American songwriter, rapper, singer, and producer. She emerged in the 1990s as part of the R&B girl group Sister and gained widespread recognition for her innovative approach to performance and music production.
Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly, super duper fly. Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly.
In 2020, Billboard ranked her at number 5 on their list of the 100 greatest music video artists of all time. And in 2023, Elliott became the first female rapper inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Being the first to be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame means so much to me because I never thought that in a million years, like that's probably the top tier of making it as an artist.
Hey, it's Angelique here. Walt Disney World Resort is bringing you the culture with music, art, and food. Imagine savoring Princess and the Frog's decadent bread pudding and berry beignets at Disney's Port Orleans Resort. Take in Disney's Animal Kingdom Park's Circle of Life Festival, celebrating the Lion King and more. Walt Disney World Resort is a place where you can come and celebrate with your family, and you can do it soulfully. Bring yourself to Walt Disney World Resort and celebrate the culture.